Well, friend, it just turned January, and ain't nothing better than a good warm stove on a cold night. And we're all wondering, it's that time of year, what kind of snows are we going to have this winter? You got the almanac and all these forecasts, but only the good Lord knows for sure. Some will get some good snows, some won't get none at all, and some will really get some heavy snows in these mountains. That's the way it's always been. Well, there's a good side of these snow, and there's a bad side. First, I'll show you the good side of the snow, all the pretty scenery. It's so breathtaking. But then I'll show you the downside of these snow. So I want you to relax and enjoy. No, we've not had a big snow yet, just some flurries. But this is some clips from a year ago when a big snowstorm come in here. Comes in the afternoon, and just before dark it's really putting it down. I mean putting it down. Beautiful pictures. On into the night. Come daylight, this is what she looked like on the ridge. Beautiful pictures. 4 to 6 inch snow. Just breathtaking to see this snow just at her daylight. On the ridge tops, everything's just in a winter wonderland. The other farms across the ridge. I'll walk through here a little bit, but you get covered up with snow if you ain't careful. But I love to show it to you. It's a cold one too. Just a winter wonderland. So beautiful. Nothing looks the same as it did before it snows. But it's breathtaking to see at first. The mountains are even beautiful, but they got them shut down. You can't get in them. You can't see them for the snowbanks, clouds in them. This is the foothills of the Smokies. This is where all the little animals are. And this is on top of the ridge. It's trying to clear off. You can see, on a clear day, you can see for miles. You can see the mountains. But not on a snowy morning. Nature's so beautiful. And down at the old pond, about froze up, but it's beautiful. And back around on the back side of the ridge where the storm hit, you can see it's so beautiful here. Winter wonderland. And I come across a little deer bed where it looks like a deer had bedded down during the snow. I might have even jumped it up when I walked through here. This may even be the picture of it I caught on the cameras back then in the same area. Little doe. And I even caught a picture of a buck on one of the cameras on this ridge in that snow, moseying through. I know they have a hard time. When the sun starts to come out, it really puts some different colors on these snow. And the sun shining through it, it's just breathtaking to see. Just froze over. Such a beautiful sight. And the surrounding area, when the sun comes out, you can see the mountains. And oh, it's so beautiful. And all the valleys, winter wonderland. But that's the good side of the snow. Now I'm going to show you the downside of it. Here we go. All these roads, people still got to get out and go to work and travel one place to another. And it can be pretty hard. But the interstates ain't too bad. It's these back roads that's bad. These little back roads up these hollers between these mountains, now they can get rough. I mean really rough. That's the downside of stuff, is trying to get around. I could remember many a night working in these mines over the years of going to work at night, midnight shift, and a big old snow on. But you got no choice. You got to go to work. And here's just one of the clips that I'd filmed years ago. Rough roads, I'm telling you. And then you'd work all night, and you were on your way home. But this is back in the days before you really four-wheel drives was out. They was out, but they wasn't real plentiful or common like they are today. Front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Back then, you wanted to get around in the snow and ice, it was a set of chains. This is the only way to go. I put them on many a times coming out of them mines, going and coming. But this is how you got around in them days. And a lot of our buddies would help each other going to work. Somebody'd be stuck. We'd pull them out, or they'd pull me out. But that's the way it was. And you can remember the old blizzard of '93, can't you? Man, I can remember it so well. It's not getting around, you just high-centered. Snow was so bad, it was, back where I was at, it was 3 foot down in the valleys, 4 foot or more up in the mountains. You just couldn't get through it. You'd have to have a dozer or an end loader to push the snow in front of you. And when you got out, it was snowing so hard, you couldn't see very far in front of you. Now, I've heard this since I was a child when I lived in Michigan as a little boy about whiteouts, but I'd never experienced it till down here at that '93 blizzard. I was pulling a tree out of the road, and I turned around and had the cable in my hand on my winch on my Jeep, and I couldn't see my Jeep 30 feet away. It looked like this. This is whiteout. You don't know where you're at. A lot of people died that way. They get out of their vehicles, stumble around these whiteouts, and you just get lost. And you might not be 20 foot from your vehicle, but you can't see it. So that's a sad part of these mountains. Sad part. And back then, they didn't worry about getting around. They had horses. That's full-time four-wheel drive right there. But as time went on and mechanized, they had cars. Well, you still had to get up to these mining camps and homes on these ridges and hollers. I know they had a hard time. There wasn't no four-wheel drives then. Old Model Ts, Model As, and they just wasn't no four-wheel drives. So they used chains. And they put them on a lot too. Well, there you go. I know these people had a hard time back in them days. It was just the old cold snows too, and after it snows it usually gets real cold. But there's nothing better than staying home around a warm fire. But sometimes you've got to work and you've got places you've got to be. I understand that. I've been there myself many a time. But you often wonder, back in the old days, these people had the same problems that we do today. This cold weather and this snows when they come in. But they didn't have no electricity, no indoor plumbing, but they made it. They made it. They stayed home, kept a big fire going. But here's the worst part that I've had to experience, stuff like this. An old outhouse out away from the house, hit in the teens, and a big snow on. Man, that is cold. So I feel for our elders, how they had to do that. And they didn't have no indoor plumbing. They'd had to pack to the houses water from a big old snow on. But you had to do what you had to do. And how did they stay warm so much? Stuff like this. They worked hard in the summer months preparing for this. This is what they've done. This is what it took to stay warm. An old stove or fireplace. Keep it stoked up. Because nowadays, you've got all the modern conveniences, but back then, just like they do now, they had ice storms. And today, you lose your electricity, you may be out for weeks, according to where you're at, how bad a shape it is. So that's how they had to do it. It's an old good fireplace or a warm stove. It don't matter if you needed electricity or not. But today, it's a necessity. But this still happens. Every winter, somebody gets a bad ice storm or bad snow and they lose power. That's just the way it is. There's nothing better than sitting around in an old warm stove. Now I'm going to share with you a strange picture that I forgot I even had. If I'd have noted at the time, I'd put it in that trail cam oddities. But I just come across this in my old pictures. This was taken a few years ago. I had a camera taking stills at the edge of a wood line watching a field where the deer come in and out. And here's a picture of it during a snowstorm. Now, here's what I captured that's really strange. I don't know what that is. I can't explain it. Now, we've all heard thunder snow. It's a rare event where you hear thunder up in the clouds during a heavy snowstorm. But I've never, seen it hit the ground. I can't explain this. Is that a real picture? Or is that just something wrong with the camera? But this was taken during the snow. So I can't answer that. So there you go on that one. That is a strange. So I hope you enjoyed this. Snow is beautiful. I don't like the cold weather, but the snow is beautiful, and it has its pros and it has its cons. It's just according. If you have to work for a living, it is aggravating. So I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. God bless, and I'll see you next time.